Welcome to the DBMS revision class. So from today onwards, we will be talking of unit by unit revision. So in this revision part, we will talk about what is a database management system, what will be the data models, what is a relational database management system, how a database design should be, and what was the role of a storage manager, what was the role of a query processor, and what was the role of a transaction manager, etc. that we are going to take up. So the hierarchy towards the database was, first one, we have data, that it is going to be uh, converted to information. So this is not meaningful. So information is arranged data in meaningful order. So there it is, one with the database management system. That too, it is going to use the things in tables, where the things are going to be in form of rows or in form of columns. Rows, we call it as tuples. Columns, we call it as attributes. Yeah, fine. So from DBMS, there are extension versions. There are extension versions of DBMS. One, it is relational database management systems. Another, it is object oriented database management systems. Distributed database management systems, and cloud based. All these are the novel issues which came one after the other. So data has to be properly arranged, data has to be normalized, data has to be structured, data has to be structured in tables. So that is where the database came into existence. So the basic functionality was speed, retrieval, and second thing was storage of data, that too in form of a structured will take up towards rows and columns in form of data in form of information with the rows and columns. Now, as far as the DBMS is concerned, it is first related for a large enterprise. So small applications, when it is second generation and third generation computers at that time, they felt that data has to be taken up in a structured way, that too for a specific domain. So enterprise, it can be an education sector, it can be a business sector, or it can be a health domain. So to whatever domain it needs to be fitted, where they are going to use this database which contain that information. And how is that information means it is going to be intercollected or interrelated data. So what is interrelated data means I have student table, then I am going to have faculty table. So faculty will give internal marks, assignment marks, etc. And student will submit their internal marks, external marks, etc., their internal marks, procedure events, submissions, attempt quizzes, etc. That means there is some relationship between students and faculty. That is a relationship between a table in form of student and faculty. So the table of a student is related to a faculty of, obviously we call such information as a interrelated data. So obviously the technique was to either extract data from a student database, either to extract data from a faculty database and give some set of outcomes what they intended to the user. And next one, it is a convenient and efficient use. It is going to provide a environment. So what was this environment? That is, we are going to use livesql.com, and it is having a GUI interface. We are able to type our SQL queries. We were able to see the answers. It is very, very convenient for us, right? We were able to type it. We were able to store our tables. We were able to retrieve our data. We felt very convenient when typing in the live SQL. So what does it? It is nothing but it is an environment. So you are using XAMPP servers, you are using MySQL to show your mini projects, execution and all. So if you are using XAMPP servers, if you are using MySQL in it, so there is an interface, there is a Eclipse where it is, you are using that interface to do client server programming and server side programming. It is a very convenient atmosphere. So DevEMS, it is going to create that type of atmosphere. Now, where are these DBMS used? They can be used in banking, they can be used in an airline reservation system, in a university reservation system, in sales, in a business, and Flipkart or Amazon, what we call here them as an online retailing. Similarly, in the manufacturing domain, and finally towards the human resources. So all these are the very best applications where DBMS is going to play its key role. Now, here is a little example to take forward, that is to building up a university databases. So when to build an university database, the primary thing was you need students, you need instructors, and you need courses. So courses, it can be DBMS, it can be FLAT, so it can be COA. So these we call them as courses. And instructors, your faculty 1, your faculty 2, your faculty 3, etc. Then you have student 565 to some LE15 or LE13, etc. So now this is a set of students, another set of faculty, another set we have courses. Now courses are related to student and faculty, faculty are related to students and courses, and students are related to faculty and courses. So now at any point of time we can add something into a course, we can delete something from a course. Similarly, faculty may join, faculty may relieve. Similarly, students may join, students may relieve due to their XYZ reasons. Now, what these tables are going to maintain? This table can register for students. Yeah. So you register for DBMS, you are paying your examination fees to clear your DBMS. You are paying your examination fees to clear your flat subject to get grading in A plus B or like that. So what we call that is registering for a course, and then generate the class roosters. So class roosters are nothing but it will be your assignments, it will be your quizzes, it will be your internal evaluation, it will be your external evaluation, it will be your lab evaluation. So all these points are going to be called here as a class roosters. And next one, yeah, your assignment, quiz, internal, external lab are going to be evaluated. How they are going to evaluate it? They are going to generate the transcripts and they are going to give you the grade point average. So GPA stands for the grade point average. So holistically for your entire second semester, so how much marks you got? So you will be getting the grade point aggregate, so average. So now you this is going to lead to the cumulative values of the courses. So in this way, we are able to maintain this university databases. So now there are two buzzwords in the first generation and in the second generation time. There are files. There are in the first generation and in the second generation we have files. So what is this file made up of? File is made up of some set of records. What is a record made up of? Record, it is made up of some fields. So that is how things went, and files, they are managed by COBOL, Common Business Oriented Language. So this is one. Another, at that time C programming was there, and C programming, they have files concept in C's. There they used to work with the COBOL. Similarly, we have Pascal here. In Pascal also we have file management, and they are purely worked with the file content. Then in the mid of second generation, in the mid of third generation, we have the database management system. At that time, things went well where we have tables and where we have the structured data. So at that structured or data, things are going to be in form of rows and column. Here at this point, they used to store the things in dot text. They used to store the things in dot dat files. So files, they are going to be stored in either a text file or either a dat file. But now when DBMS was working or generated, so at that time they used to store the data in tables, and there we have XLS, and then we have um, the spreadsheets. We have the spreadsheets to store the data in rows and column, and then the SQL came. Later on in the fourth generation, then the relational database management system came into picture, where it made chord rules, the 12 chord rules, and then it added tuple calculus, and then it added relational algebra. So all these mathematical background was given to the database. So it happened with the relational database management system, which was the history part for you towards first generation, second generation, and third generation. So there were a lot of limitations when we work with the file management. There was a lot of limitations with the file management system because of duplicacy, inconsistency. So those points has to be addressed. So what was the drawback here was coming to the file management system, they are going to say that data redundancy and inconsistency is available in the file. So there is a flaws where they get duplicate values because of multiple formats or multiple way of representation of information, and data was so inconsistent, so we were not able to know what was the exact data. So what was the exact data? So that is the latest data, latest updated data. So it was unable to found. So they were unable to track. They were unable to track what was the latest data that they were unable to track, because in C drive they used to store one data, D drive they used to store one data, E drive they used to store one data. So you are going to have multiple copies. You are going to have multiple copies, and what was the latest copy that you don't know. Even when you do your money project and you start doing your documentation, you save project one, mini project one in one place. Then after 2 hours, you update your Word file, then you say mini project in another drive. So when we ask you to submit, you don't know what was the latest copy because you are using the same file, same name, same conversion. So that it is going to lead to a disruptive way which was the latest, that you can't understand. But if you are maintaining a same copy at a same value, so if I'm going to take up a database, there will be only one value, there will be only one location for the database. So every time the updated information only it is going to give, there won't be any multiple copies. So thereby this inconsistency will be violated. So that is the drawback of file system, which was eliminated by the database management system. And see, needs to write a new program to carry out a new task. So at every point of time, accessing was so difficult that you have to start from the beginning. You have to do it from the beginning. So you can't take a bookmark from that bookmark if you want to start it. Yeah, of course, it is not possible. Therefore, it was difficult to access the file system. And similarly, data was isolated in multiple files and multiple formats. So I just talked here. So we are going to have multiple files. So at C location, you are storing one file, D location, you are storing a file, E location, you are storing another file. So you don't know, sometimes you are going to save it in .csv file. Sometimes you are going to save it in .xls. So you both XLS and CSV will open in Excel. So, but you don't know what was the latest copy or what was the file format. It is it is there. So you can't imagine that. So that is what we call here as a data isolation. Next, there was a integrity problem, that it is not meeting the constraints. So we are going to put that balance should be greater than 0. We are going to put some condition. We are going to put some condition that the balance should be greater than 0, and that condition is not going to be met. So there is a problem to address the integrity of the content. And another drawback what the file system is going to look was atomicity of the values. So it is one or none. So one or none, that means if a transaction is going to do, it should meet all the phases. If any phase is going to done, it is moving to the starting phase. So if there is a failure in the database, obviously it is going to lead to an inconsistency and partial updates can't be carried out. So in file system, there is no specific procedure to maintain the atomicity, that is acid properties meeting like atomicity, concurrency, isolation, and durability. And if any point of time any error has come, it can't come to the starting position. So that was one of the drawback what this file system is going to be facing. And next one was a concurrent access by multiple users. So file system, there is no concurrent access. So in file system, only one user at a time, and such way it is going to say uncontrolled of the concurrency. It is going to lead some inconsistency problem, because I keep the balance as 2000 and then you keep the balance of 2500, and you are expecting value should be 2500. I am expecting the value of 2000, but when I open it, then it is going to show 2500. That means there is the updated value was rechanged from me somewhere, was had a latest transaction on that. So concurrency, it is going to violate some performance problems. So uncontrolled concurrence access is going to be one of a flaw in the file management system. And another one was to work with the security. So users access, they need to be locking mechanism was totally missing in the security problem. So whenever uh, um, you open your mobile phone, maybe you give a set of security privileges, face recognition patterns, or a pin number or a password. So you are going to give some certain security to your mobile phone, which was at the 5th generation or a 4th generation. But at the time of the 1st generation, at the time of 2nd generation, there is no such way of protection. So data can't be protected. The key is open to all. It is access to all. So day by day, later, generation by generation, security was upgraded. So there are a lot of flaws what the file management taken up. So one, we were telling that it is limited towards redundancy, it is going to have inconsistency problems, it is going to have access problems, and data was isolated, and it is not able to solve the integrity problem, and it is not fitting up the isolation problem, and concurrent users mechanism was not provided, and similarly the security problem was there in the file management system. So to improvise all these drawbacks, the database system is going to come into a holistic solution where people are going to call it as a database management system. So that is how the evaluation of a database management system came into picture. So while organizing this database management system, it is going to be taken up into levels. The very first level, it was with the user level. It was user level, and this user level, people are going to call it as a people are going to call this level 3. Then we are going to have level 2. So this is what we call it as a logical level. We call it as logical level. And level 3, we are going to have this as physical level. We call it as a physical level. So we have level 3 where people are going to talk to the database management system. In level 2, we will be having the logical definitions of the databases. In level 1, we will be having the uh, physical level where exactly the database is going to be stored. So we will be having the physical location, that is in the tier T. So in the level 1, we are going to have the users. They will be the general users, or they will be the programmers, or they will be the database administrators. They will be the people who are going to communicate to the database. This is first level. In the second level, it is going to maintain the data schema. It is going to give the logical definition, where it is going to work with um, constraints, where it is going to work with the integrity constraints. Then it is going to see that the database tables are going to be organized, are going to be logically arranged, etc. So that is where we talk about the logical view. So logical view, we are going to call it as a blueprint. It is like a map. And third one is the exact location where the database is going to have. So in this database, we will be having the storage in form of tables, in form of metadata, where it is going to have the data dictionary, that too we call here as a um, metadata. We call this data dictionary as a metadata, or it is going to provide some indexing. So as a Hue database management system, it is going to support this database organization in form of level 3, in form of level 2, in form of level 1, one with users, another with logical view, another with the physical view, and thereby in the first point it takes up the general users. In the second level, it works with the logical schema, it works with the data dictionary components, and it is used to give some normalization. It is to work with the normalization, that it is supporting the key constraints, it is supporting the integrity constraints, etc. And as far as the level 3 is going to concern, it is dealing with indexing, it is dealing with metadata, and it is going to build the things in forms of rows and columns. So we talked about this levels of abstraction. So we have this physical level, and it is what it is mentioning was it is going to describe how the record is going to take up. And second thing, when it deals with the logical level, it is going to describe how data is going to be stored in the database and how will be the relations. And third thing will be the level view. So in level view, it is going to hide up the functionalities, what is going inside. Level 2, that is logical view. Level 1 in the physical view. So only it is going to support the application part, where it is going to give access to the database, where it is going to provide the access to the database, or it is going to provide the graphical user interface where people can handle the data, where they can have a facility to type up the key up the content. So this is the architecture or the view of a database design. So we have the different views. So one, it can be a database administrator, it can be the programmer, or it can be the sophisticated users. It can be the sophisticated users or the people who are going to use the database for the first time. We call them as a novice users. So all these are the people who are going to use the graphical user interface. That is, we are using the live SQL. There we are going to open the browser, and then we are able to type the commands. So we have a interface to communicate to the database. Next comes the logical view, where it is going to give up the schema, where it is going to give up the definition, then it is going to set up the normalization, then it is going to set up the key constraints and conditions, etc. So all these aspects, they are going to be treated as a logical view, which we are going to call it as a blueprint. And here it deals with some data independence, that is towards physical view, towards physical view, and towards the logical view. In both the views it is going to support. And next one, we are going to have a physical level. So in this physical level, the database is going to be in form of databases with tables, or it is going to have a metadata, and that is data about data, which is stored in the data dictionary. So this, it is going to act as an index also. So in one view it is going to support the user applications, in another view it is going to support the blueprint with the schema definitions, in another view it is going to show where exactly or how exactly the data is going to be formed. So in this way the views are going to be taken up. So we talked about this logical schema. So it is going to give the overall structure of the logical database. Then we talked about the physical schema. It is going to give up the physical structure of the database. We talked about data dictionary. We talked about metadata, and then how the database is going to eventually organize. And thereby we are going to have the physical data independence. So in this physical data independence, so in the data independence, one, we are going to work with the physical, and second one we call it as a logical. So logical in sense, we will alter the data, or we will modify the data uh, without disturbing the physical content. So that is what we call it as a logical data independence. So here in this logical data independence, we will alter the data, we will alter the database. That means we will upgrade, we will upgrade the table structure, we will upgrade the table structure, or we will upgrade the table data without disturbing the physical centers, etc. So we call that one as a logical data independence. Next comes the physical database independence. So in physical database independence, we will see that the logical blocks are the data blocks. They don't disturb the existing work, etc. They don't. They are going to be added to the they are going to be added to the existing database, and existing database is not corrupted or existing database is not lost. So we are just adding the data pages, we are going to add the data box or disk blocks, but due to that the original construct of the database is not going to be lost. So that is all regarding the levels of physical data independence and the different data models towards the data. So now we are talking about the collection of tools which are going to describe the data models. One, we call it as a data, and data we call it as an entity which is going to be a real time. Second one, we have relationships, that is table to table we will have a relationship, and how we can have it is a one to one, it is one to many, or it is many to many, or many to one. So in any of a four, we are going to build up a relation between tables. And next one was data semantics. So semantics is it in a meaningful order. So whether they are able to make some inferences, they are going to get some information. So in a meaningful order, we call that word here as a data semantics, and thereby we are going to give the data constraints, which we call it as not null, or a unique, or a primary key, or a foreign key. So all these aspects we are going to nurture this out towards the uh, data constraints, etc. Next comes the relational model, where we have the entity relationship model, where we represent the tables and gives the relationship between multiple tables, that to have a good database design. The extension versions of the database will be the object-oriented databases, will be the databases which are going to be in XML and network or hierarchical. Now we are going to have dictionaries in Python. We are going to have dictionary in Python, or we are going to have the JSON file. So in JSON file, it is going to store up the key value pair. It is going to have the key value pair um, in the JSON files. So it is purely organized as a database. So that too, it is going to be in form of a structured data. So hope you worked on your mini projects where you worked with the JSON files. So when we are working with a JSON file, it is a composite value with multiple aggregates where attributes, and these attributes can be integer, float, real, character, whatever it is, and they are going to be stored in a dictionary format, and that collection we are putting it in a JSON file, and where we get a relationships in form of key value pairs. Yeah. So how is a relational model is generated? Yeah, one, we have identifier, name, department name, and salary. These items we call them as a columns, or we call them as an attributes. Then 2222, 1212. So in this way, these items we are going to call them as a rows. So number of rows into number of columns, we are going to have a table, and this table we are going to call it as a databases. So maintaining the relational things in form of rows and columns in a tabular form, of a data, we call it as a database. So that was the content. And now here we can see there is an instructor table, there is a department table, and you can see here identifier, it can be a primary key, and you can see data department name and department name. So department name is going to be used in the instructor table. So at this point of time, department name, it is again a primary key attribute. Now it is moving to the main table. So that is the reason why we call this entity as a foreign key attribute. So to maintain such values, to maintain the databases in form of rows and columns, we need to get a data definition language. So in this data definition language, we will create a table, we will drop a table, we will alter a table, we will rename a table, or we will make a truncate a table. So these are the different operations we discussed in the lab part. So all these, they are going to be effectively worked in order to build a database or in order to build up this schema. So when we are going to call with a schema, the first thing we have the attribute name. The second thing we will be having the attribute attribute data type, and third thing we will be having the attribute size. Okay, so whenever we are going to build up a database schema, we need to have the table name, we need to have the table or the database name, and that is what we call here as an instructor. Thereby we are going to have an identifier, we are going to have a varchar2 and 20. So one, it is representing attribute name, another it is representing the databases data types, another it is going to represent the size. All together, putting these elements together, where we get a schema, that is metadata. So that is what we call here as a data dictionary. So data dictionary, it is going to contain the metadata, that is nothing but data about data, where it is going to bring up the database schema. Just now we talked about database schema. Table name was created, table is going to have fields, and these fields are of different data types, and they are going to occupy different sizes. So all that, it is going to be part of the database schema. Next one, every T is going to have a not null value, it is a unique value. So if such has to be maintained, then we need to see that there is no duplicate values in the rows. So for that, we are going to have a primary key setup. But we want to make a relationship between multiple tables, then we are going to use up this foreign key setup at this point. So all these words, giving keys, giving primary key for unique identity, we call them as an integrity constraints. Next one, we are going to list up the users, and we are going to give up the user rights. That is, we call it as an access, that is whether it is a read, it is a write, so it is an exclusive. So we can give up the set up the rights. There we are going to give some authorization for the users in order to make an access of the data definition content. So So after that, we have the very first word we talked about, the data definition. That is the SQL commands with create, uh, drop, alter, trunk, and round. Next one, we need to talk about the uh, values which need to be taken into the database. So how values are going to be taken into a database means, yeah, we have to perform an insert operation, we have to perform a delete operation to insert or delete a row, nor in order to update a content. So for that, we are going to use the SQL's data manipulation language. So where it is going to access the data or manipulate the data into the appropriate data model. So appropriate data model, it can be DBMS, it can be an RDBMS, it can be object-oriented database management system. So everything, data has to be inputted. So how data is going to be taken up? It can be via insert, it can be via delete, etc. So next comes, there are two classes of languages. One we are going to call it as a pure, another it is going to be called it as a commercial vendor. So as far as SQL is going to be concerned, it is with Oracle, and these people, it is even they are going to give us a free access in live SQL, but when it goes to it is a commercial product and it can be used for commercial applications only. So the other class was what it is going to provide properties of computational power for optimization. So we have relational algebra, we have tuple calculus, and we have domain calculus. So these are all going to be the different entities into the database. So pure database is there, then it is going to convert it into relational database management system. So how is it converted? It is taking relational algebra, it is taking tuple calculus, it is going to have domain calculus. Then only people have redefined this word as a relational database management system. So SQL, yeah, it is going to be used for a commercial use, and it is a non-Turing and not Turing machine. So it is going to able to have a complex functions, and it is going to have an embedded with high level language. So you are going to use English like characters to display the comments, to display LSS for while working. So these are all going to be one of an advantages of SQL, and it can be embedded to an interface to an application program. So in your mini projects, what we are going to do is you are going to use XAMPP servers, and by default you get a MySQL. Then you are going to use the Eclipse software. In Eclipse software, you are going to use the JDBC or ODBC connections, and in the front end you design a HTML page with CSS programming, etc. So then you are going to link that CSS or a HTML page to the databases. So that HTML page, what you developed, it is going to be called as an application programming interface. And this is what we call it as front end. And in using the database, it is going to connect. It is going to connect to the database, which it is going to be internal. So that is what we call here as an backend. So in order to link the front end, in order to link the backend, we need some set of code, where that code we are going to call it as object database connectivity or Java database connectivity. So using this code, we are able to link up the front end application with the backend application. So in front end, we use HTML, PHP, or CSS, or a Bootstrap to develop the application programming interface. And then we use a backend with databases like Oracle, SQL, or a MySQL, etc. But now you need to link in the front end to a backend. There we need to have a connectivity, and that connectivity it is going to be taken up with the Open Database connectivity or a Java database connectivity. So that is all for today. We talked about database creation and updations, and then we talked about levels of abstraction, the drawbacks of file system, then then what will the advantages of the file system, sorry, advantages of the